welcome to The Boring Show. I'm Mary. I am a software engineer at Google, and I work with Flutter.
Hey guys, I'm Tasha, and I've been an Android developer for about 6 years now, and I recently just started experimenting with Flutter.
So what do you think about Flutter so far?
I love Flutter, and I think the best thing about Flutter, one of the best things, is the documentation. It's so comfortable. It's like a mentor.
Cool.
And I think a lot of the frustrations that I had going into Android development and continuing with Android development kind of steered me in the direction of creating a sort of state machine flow type system for my views in Android. And I think that's kind of what steered me in the direction of Flutter. And I saw that Flutter was doing that same philosophy in a really cool way.
Cool. So what are you thinking about building today?
So I was thinking about sort of creating a flip book. So those little books where you have blank pages of paper and you just sort of draw certain pictures on them and you can flip them and it looks like a whole movie or like an animation.
Right.
So I'm thinking we can sort of create some sort of view where we can draw something.
Okay.
And draw, little pictures one on top of the other and then sort of just run through those pictures really fast and animate them and make it look like a flip book.
Right. So we're going to probably build something that draws like a canvas. We can draw on it with our mouse or with our fingers if it were an actual phone.
Yes.
And then save that image, save multiple images, and then go through them and flip through them.
Exactly.
Right. So let's get started.
Yeah, sure. So here we have our starter project.
Right.
And, it's the sample project that gets built when you create a new Flutter app. And so for this, we were thinking of using a gesture detector. And what I really like about this is that the idea that the whole widget itself is kind of specialized with regards to accepting gesture information, as opposed to views in Android where you additionally add on that functionality.
Okay.
So I kind of like this idea that it's pretty interesting that this entire container is somewhat dedicated to it. And then you can put a child in it that can be whatever you want.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's get started.
Cool. So let's get started with this. So I think we have our home page. And cool. So we have the sample stuff here. So I'm going to just...
Yeah, you can just delete it.
Delete that, and then delete that. And so it looks like we have a scaffold with an app bar and a title and a center. So I'm going to say that my body is going to actually be the gesture detector and not the center.
Sounds good.
So let me see if I can quickly remove that. All right.
Cool.
Cool. So let's see what's going on with the gesture detector. Let's open the docs.
Okay.
Okay, so I see that there is obviously the child that we have to specify. And I want to see if there are any callbacks for when the pointer goes down, the pointer drags, and the pointer goes up again.
Yeah, there's a lot of options here. So there's you can pass in, if you scroll up a little bit.
Right.
There's on tap.
Right, there's
down.
taps, on tap down, there's long press, there's vertical drag end. And let's see if there's anything more sort of rudimentary, something way lower level than an actual drag or a click.
So what are you trying to do right
So
here?
I'm trying to see if I can get a callback for when the pointer actually just goes down. And when the pointer gets updated as user drags. And when the pointer sort of is no longer on the screen when the user lifts off.
Okay. Sure.
Also, I would like to additionally record when the user just taps once.
Okay. So we definitely have tap down and tap up.
Yeah.
And there's also drag, and there's pan, and then there's...
What is pan doing here?
So I guess you can tap on that, or gesture drag start callback.
Cool. All right. Cool. Oh. This sounds like exactly what I want. Yeah.
Well, pointer
has contacted the screen and has begun to move. Okay, cool. Let me see if I can get sort of documentation.
I mean, all of them give a gesture drag start callback or update. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Gesture start, and then this is a gesture drag update callback. Cool. So this looks pretty much exactly like what I was thinking we would need.
Okay.
As soon as the pointer has contacted the screen with a primary button and has begun to move.
Okay, let's compare that with on tap down.
Let's see, on tap.
Because that is something that I would have intuitively thought, because when you're thinking about buttons, you tap down, or when you're thinking about key presses, or if you had a virtual keyboard or something.
Right. A pointer that might cause a tap with a primary button has contact the screen at a particular location. So this looks like it's not mentioning anything about the pointer actually moving.
I see.
This looks like, to me, it looks like, in comparison, it looks like something that is sort of just like a one-off event.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I feel like on pan start is more what we want.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm interested in these other other pan callbacks. So on pan update, a pointer that is in contact with the screen with the primary button and moving has moved again. So does this sound like to you something that would involve a pointer drag? Like if that's
we
something,
could use that.
Yeah.
I think we can start with on pan start and on pan end.
On pan end, right?
Yeah, just for the most simple functionality of just down, and up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Try
okay,
that.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's start adding those callbacks in there.
Okay.
I'm gonna remove.
Yeah, you can remove the
floating action button.
We might need it back later, but just remove it now.
Yeah, remove it now. Okay, cool. So let's see.
Okay, so right now we're adding functionality to register whether a user has kind of panned down and panned up. So let's go with that.
So I was here and I started adding this. And I kind of wanted to see like what the callback arguments were that we needed to put in here.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of like command clicking on this.
Okay.
And sort of diving into the actual code.
Right.
So I see that the gesture drag start callback has a details argument. So given that, if we go back to our gesture detector, I'm going to say that we have the details coming in. Right. And this is the body of our callback. Right.
Well, now I'm wondering, okay, so what are we actually tapping on here? We're tapping on, right now we're tapping on the scaffold, or the body. The body is a gesture detector, but there's no child
yet
thing for it.
So exactly.
Do we need to think about that, or should we just finish pan start? Do you think they're related to each other?
Yeah, I think that what it looks like to me is that the gesture detector is this sort of container, and you stick a child in there, but you have all these callbacks that you can use so that whatever happens to the child that you referenced, you'll get that bubbled up.
Okay.
So let's start adding the child anyway.
Okay.
So for this child, I'm gonna say we can start off with a container.
Sure, container. Yeah, that's basically what I do every time I start off, and I'm not super sure what it will be. Just use a container.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right. And looks like we have a weird.
Oh yeah, let's delete that
this
comma.
One is the next
right.
one.
Yes. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so let's say we just have like a basic container, and just diving into the container real quick. Do we want to give it some sort of dimensions real quick?
We can just hard code dimensions.
Cool. Okay. Let's see. Let's give it like
300 by
300.
Sure.
Cool. To start with.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also probably want to show the simulator so that people can see that we have our screen. So we can also open the simulator. Cool. There we go. Nice.
All right. Cool. Right. We need a double.
Oh, okay. Let's just put 300.0. Although I believe maybe you should be able to just do 300 these days.
Right.
I think my Dart or Flutter may be out of date a little bit.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, it's still good. You should be able to just type 300.
Got it.
Yeah. So when you save, it should. Well, we didn't actually. Oh, we deleted some stuff, but yeah.
But do you want to give this a color or anything just to differentiate?
Sure. Yeah. Let's just make it whatever.
Let's see. Color.
Just color equals color dot.
Let's do it.
Colors dot. Whatever color you want. Oh, it's also complaining about something.
Oh.
We can't type now for some reason. Yeah.
Wait. That's bizarre. I don't think that has ever happened to me.
Okay. Why can't we type anything?
Is something else taking control?
Can we type anything in Chrome? Okay, so we can here. So Android Studio apparently does not like us typing on here.
Can you do a Command Z on it? just try to undo what you did?
No, let me just quit and reopen it.
Okay.
Okay, that kind of sucks. Okay, back in.
Back in.
Okay.
Well, while that's starting up again, so you were asking, what are we going to actually do with the pan start callback?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So how does one actually get sort of a custom widget or some sort of a custom
Yeah, we definitely want to use like a canvas, like or the sort of custom painter.
Right, some sort of a custom canvas or something like that. And I believe there is a custom paint widget.
Yeah.
Which, when I first found out about, kind of confused me a little bit because I kept thinking of paint. And then the word custom paint sort of reminded me that it's just a paint that is... All right. Custom paint kind of made me think that it is a custom paint and not a widget. Mm-hmm. But then after looking into it, I realized it was actually a widget. It's sort of like a custom canvas.
Right.
Where you give it a painter.
Yeah, let's look up the docs for custom
so let's find
painter, whose name I don't remember very well. We can open another tab if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we might want to keep the gesture detector one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, custom paint class from widgets. Okay. Right, exactly. A widget that provides a canvas on which to draw during the paint phase. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so we have a custom canvas, and in order to translate the user activity on the custom canvas, we need sort of a painter. So we're probably going to need some sort of, a custom painter.
Right. Yeah, let's go through this and set it up.
That. Yeah. So it looks like the custom paint here takes in a painter and also takes in a child. So I'm guessing that if we go back to our code and let's see how that started up. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so we have that.
This isn't centered.
Yeah, just put it in the center.
Put it in the center.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna make it a center.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Format. Cool.
Cool.
Save that. Great. This is the best thing about Flutter development. Just Command S and things just happen immediately. Let's go back to the docs. So we were here.
So you were thinking about replacing the container with the custom paint?
Right. So we have a centered container. Mm-hmm. So instead of the container, which we can't obviously draw on, we would need to replace that with the custom paint. And the custom paint's child could then become that container.
Okay, sure. Let's do that. Custom
paint. And okay, so we can obviously specify dimensions for the custom paint.
We would wrap that in a child.
We would wrap that in a child. So we got child container.
Yep.
Cool. And let me just format that.
I think you needed an extra parens. Yeah. Yeah. You want to undo it.
Yeah, I want to undo that.
And then give an extra end.
Oh, that's right.
Parens.
I did not see that.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So we have a custom paint and we have a child in there. Let's save that.
So now we just need to set up what the painter will be.
So we need the painter. So I'm guessing that the painter needs to paint whatever we get from the gesture detector callbacks, right? Yeah. So every time a user puts the pointer down and drags it, we kind of need to record the XY coordinates or the points, the series of points that the user produces from those actions, as well as record the pointer liftoff.
Right.
And then use the painter somehow to actually translate that into actual.
So let's do that. Yeah.
So let's come here. So I'm going to say we need a painter. And let's go back to the docs. And let's look over here. Right. So painters are implemented using custom painter by subclassing custom painters. Let me open up that. So the custom painter class. Okay. The interface used by custom paint. Cool. To implement a custom painter, your subclass or implement this interface to define your custom paint delegate.
Okay, so let's do that.
Let's try that.
Yeah, let's just create a class in the same file just for ease of everything.
Yeah.
So we can just call it
class. Flipbook Painter.
Sure. Sounds good.
Painter. Okay. Extends custom painter.
I think you may have to import Dart UI. Oh, you don't. I think. Okay. Well, it's not complaining.
Right, it's not complaining. Cool.
Wait, maybe it is.
No, it's complaining because I didn't. There's probably something I didn't override.
Oh yeah, you need to override the should repaint.
Right. So let's see what I need to override.
There we go.
Okay, 2 missing overrides.
It's nice that it does that for you.
I know. Paint and should repaint. That sounds pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah. All right. Let's check out.
So let's see. Paint. Let me click into it.
Or say,
just
there we go.
Go up to the the interface. Cool. Call whenever the object needs to paint. The given canvas has its coordinate space figure configured such the origin is the top left of the box there. The box.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds pretty familiar to me. Okay. So let's leave this to do for now. Let's see what should repaint is about.
Okay.
So should repaint, the name tells me that we need to tell it when it should repaint.
Right.
Right. Okay, so if the new instance represents different information than the old instance, then the method should return true, otherwise it should return false.
Yeah,
so,
in our case it should just return true. Then.
Yeah, so it sounds to me that we always need to repaint because we are we're going to have changing information.
Yeah, every time the person moves, it will draw something.
Actually, isn't there a way to write this as an expression?
Yeah, you can just do equals.
Is it equals?
Left. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, nice. That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
It's for shorter functions like that, it's just easier to, or more readable to do that.
I love that syntax. That is really obvious to me. All right, cool. So let's come back here. So we have the pan start waiting for us. We have the painter waiting for us.
Okay.
So let's see if we can...
Let's implement paint, or at least put that there.
Yeah, let's put that there. Yeah. And in order to create one of these, I'm guessing we need to give it a paint or like some sort of a brush.
Let's take a look at the docs.
Let's go back to this, actually.
Okay, sure. I mean, if there's an example here, we can just look at it and use it.
Got it. Okay, so I see here that... we have a skies, a custom painter.
It actually does not seem to... It takes in a canvas and a size.
And a size. Okay.
Was that required? I guess. I don't know.
A canvas and a size. Okay, let me see. Let's try out. Let's try out with the size at least.
Sure.
So if we go back to our main, and we have this right here.
Right.
So let's say we just do a size of size, and then we specify... the size takes in a width and a height, so let's do 300 and 300.
Yeah,
so I'm just going to copy these 2 lines.
Okay. I think it's actually the required param, so you can remove height and width. It should be 300, 300.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool, okay.
You just have to remember which one's height and which one's width. But in our case, since it's a square...
Okay.
Okay. You just...
Name parameter size is not defined.
I think the thing is, in Custom Painter, you didn't... The constructor doesn't actually have a size param.
Oh, I see.
But paint does take a size.
The paint method.
Yeah.
Took in the canvas and the size. Okay, cool.
So we may not
be able actually
to pass that in.
Yeah.
Right.
This is probably not what we want.
Okay, yeah, we actually don't pass. It doesn't seem like we pass anything into Flipbook Painter.
Doesn't
but
like
here we get a size somehow, which not sure how we got it, but...
Right.
I
think
about that.
The custom paint, the fact that it has a child with a certain width and height, this child's dimensions are then handed over to the painter. Possibly. So I believe that's how the painter knows.
Well, we can find out as we go, I guess.
Sounds good. Okay,
cool.
So let's get to like the actual implementation of on pan start. So we'd probably need some sort of like a list of like points or like a pair pairs of XY coordinates. So is there any sort of class that represents like 2 points or just like an XY?
I mean, there's a point. I think there's a point class. There might be if we look up point class.
All right, let's
somewhere in here, or like the offset class. But we can look up point.
Let's look at point. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the docs and point.
Point class, so math. Possibly point class.
Let's see that.
This means we may have to calculate stuff relative to the top left corner. I mean, there's also offset, which also is the top, also from the top left corner, possibly as well.
Oh, so you mean offset is like the point, but offset, but relative to the top left.
Whereas I'm not sure where this one's origin is. Maybe we define that ourselves.
I believe.
Oh, the origin 0, 0 in this
0,
point.
0. Okay, so I'm guessing that this origin is different from the top left that we saw. The custom paint was talking about.
Unclear whether this 0, 0 is the center or not. Oh, the origin is the center.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's up to you which one you want to use for math, doing the math.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned offset.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me check out offset as well.
I mean, they're both similar in that you just pass in an x and y, and then it's really just where it translates to relatively.
Got it. Okay. An immutable 2D floating point offset.
Right.
So, okay, so this is starting to tell me that this is using a lot of the vocabulary of the widgets. I mean, it's talking about size and it's talking about rendering. It sounds like something that is more related to UI and less related to math.
Well, I think, I mean, math-wise, it might be easier just to calculate using offset because we are starting in the top left corner.
Right, I see. For example, the top left position of Children's Render Box protocol render box, that's interesting. Okay. Is typically represented as an offset from the top left of the parent box, right? Mm-hmm. So this is probably what you're talking about with the calculations. We probably don't need to calculate the point from the top left because offset will give that for us. Okay. So I'm thinking that we need to maintain a list of these points, right?
A list of points.
All right.
So every time the user pan starts and pan stops, we save that line or segment as a thing in the list.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, so let me then get started with a list of offset.
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, you can actually make this final because we're not going to...
And private.
Yeah. So you can do final, and then you can actually remove the type because for finals, if you know already the type, so it'll be final offsets equals, and then offset type, and then the double bracket.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Wait, no. Use like the double bracket, but remove the word list. So remove the word list.
I see.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to talk in code though.
Yeah.
And then instead of the parens, use square brackets.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So now you have a list that you can add to, but you just can't delete it and reuse it. And
that's pretty cool. I didn't know about. I probably saw this syntax, but I didn't actually remember it.
Yeah, because the interesting thing about lists is that you can keep adding points and removing, or adding and removing items in the list, but it's still a final object because the list itself is created once and just sticks around.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's start adding stuff to the list.
Okay, so pan start.
Okay,
user has tapped down. We want to save that very first location that they tapped on.
Got it. So let's add an offset.
Okay, so now let's say I will now draw where we are. We have our little thing here. Our container, which is a square, but for some reason I drew a rectangle.
That's a square.
Okay, sure. And so this is 0, 0. And we tap right here.
Yes.
And let's say that's 50, 50.
Right.
So we're going to save that.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the idea. Sounds good. Okay. So pan start callback is going to give us details.
Right.
And I would like to know what the details are.
I assume
that's probably going to tell us
the point where we tap at is the detail. Right.
So if you go back to the gesture drag start callback for on start, the drag start details. Okay. So...
Oh, yeah, see, it gives you a global position. Awesome. Oh, it already told you it was of offset type, so we didn't actually have to
that's great.
decide.
That's awesome.
It tells you exactly.
Wow, okay, so global position. Cool. So is there a way for us to access this global position?
It's public.
It is final and it's public. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can...
You can add print statements to C if you want, or you can just set the...
Sorry, I was in Kotlin mode for a second. I just wrote val.
You can add global position since it's already of type offset.
Oh, that's right.
Let's try that.
Details dot global position.
Great.
Cool. Okay. And so this is the first point. So do you think we could just try to render this on the screen?
Yeah, let's just every time we just try it out and see what happens.
Okay, cool. That would mean we need to implement
That's
this.
true.
So I'm guessing that at this point, this class also needs a reference to these points that we have, these offsets that we have.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah.
So we need to somehow pass the points in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So let's say that we have the same setup here. We locally have this in here.
Sure. Or you can pass. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then we'd need make a constructor.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So let's say we have this dot offsets.
Well, if you want it to be private, then you will have to do you would have to just say offsets, and then inside the constructor set the public worded offsets to the private worded offsets.
Oh, I see.
So it's kind of finicky, but so we can just make it public for now. Yeah, we can change it later.
Yeah.
But yeah, since you're also defining it here, you don't have to instantiate the list. It'll just be final offsets, semicolon.
That makes sense. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
There we go.
And do we need to call super?
No, we don't actually. I mean, yeah, I guess we do because we are extending Custom Painter and we don't know what they're doing. We can take a look to see.
Right.
We might as well just, I don't know, do it.
Yeah, I think it looks like it doesn't actually need anything special. The super.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually I don't. I always forget to call it, so.
All right.
Coding practice right there.
Oh man. Okay, but at least we got this far. So we have this set up here. So we have the offset. So I'm guessing that at this point when we create the custom paint and give it the painter.
Oh yeah, we should need to pass in
the painter
the offset.
Needs to have the offset.
Right. There we go.
All right. So let's try to implement this paint. So we have a
list of points.
A list of points.
We want to draw that list of points.
So let me see if I can create a loop.
Okay. Sure.
So let's see. I want to just create like a for each
point in the offset or offset in offsets.
Offset.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Var offset.
Yeah, gonna need that.
Offsets. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We want to draw.
We want to draw it
somehow.
So we need to use our canvas.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So let's look at.
It's like canvas.drawPoint or draw
point or something. Okay. Let's check this out.
There's a whole bunch. You can draw multiple things with multiple types of inks. Like you can add opacity. You can add blurring. You can add all sorts of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Draw points. Right.
Yeah. Draw points.
Cool. So we need a list of offset points.
Oh.
And we need a paint. All right, so let's try to do that. So we first need to paint.
I think they mean the canvas is paint. So if you do canvas.paint, actually, I'm not super sure. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's canvas. We have a canvas. So if you go back to our code, you would just do lowercase canvas.paint or draw point or something. Draw point. And what are the things we wanted again?
So we have point mode.
Oh, okay. That's easy to decide.
We have a list of offsets.
Paint. Oh, yes. I guess we do need to create a paint object.
A paint object.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. So let's create a paint object here. Let's say that. Oh no!
How come every time you type something, what did you press that?
I don't
caused
know. I feel like I was typing and then my palm touched the touchpad.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, well. Let's reopen it again. Yeah. I think it's some keyboard combination that locks the screen, but I don't know which one you're typing that's causing that to happen.
That could be a pretty neat prank to play on someone.
It's not a good prank. Okay. I mean, it's a good prank, but it's not good for this show.
Not good for this show.
No.
Okay. So we got our simulator backup.
Okay, we're gonna have to reopen the thing after the code compiles, but we're in the middle of writing the paint thing.
It stopped at paint.
Yeah. I think you want paint.
Paint.
We can look at the parameters. And you'd probably want to make it a final as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot. Okay. Anti-alias. That's probably we probably want.
You may not actually need to pass anything into the paint yet.
Okay. Does it have a default color? Looks like there is a default color. Okay. So we probably don't need to pass anything in. So if you leave it out here like this, it should work.
Yeah, we can always add stuff if we need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So draw points. We need something called a point mode.
Yeah, I think that's something you can just look up, and there's stroke cap round with just pick
one. Then each point is drawn. Okay. I see. So does this refer to what the point looks like? Is the point rounded or is the point like a square, like when you actually
I think you choose points, lines, scroll down. What else do we have? Or polygon. Let's just go with
points.
Points, yeah.
Point mode points.
Right. We can always change that if it doesn't look right.
Point mode points.
And then the other item we need is
all right. The other argument we need is the list of points.
I think because these are required arguments, you don't need to pass in
mode you don't need to pass that in.
The reason I think it's complaining is we need to import .ui.
Oh, I see.
Or we haven't filled out all three things yet. Yeah,
import
there we go. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So let's continue. Let's add. So it wants a list of offset points. I'm wondering, is that obviously our list is going to be like very different when we start implementing callbacks from the gesture detector that tell us when the pointer is moving. But for now, can we just draw like the one point? We can create a list
sure.
That one point.
Okay, just create a list and pass in that point.
All right. So this current offset that I have.
Yep. And wrap it in a list, I guess. So just put brackets around.
Oh, nice.
Because it takes a list, right? So we need a.
Is this it?
Yes, that should work.
Oh, that's
in
great.
theory.
Okay.
We'll see when we're done.
Then we need the paint.
And okay.
Wow.
So now let's save that and play it, and so we have the actual app showing instead of all my regular my test apps.
Cool.
And while we
wait, let's see what we can do with the other callbacks.
Okay, so we need to definitely implement update and down. I mean, start and end.
Start and end, exactly.
And also update, I assume, but we'll see.
So let's go with the on pans. So there is an on pan update.
Right, and there's also a down.
And there's a down.
And cancel, but cancel I think we may not need it yet because for the most basic functionality.
We don't need that yet. But we probably need a pan end to know when the user lifts off.
It's true.
Okay. So let's start thinking about how we want to add that. So if we have a pan start here and we're just sort of adding the points.
You know, I think we're supposed to add the points on pan end because, you can add when you're on starting, you add a point. And then when you end, you add the last point.
I feel like what it looks like to me is that when you touch the screen, you just record that point, and then as you drag, you record the points.
Okay, so as you update, you will record the points.
And when you lift off, you record maybe some sort of like a stop point, so that you know that the next time the user comes back, you're not continuing that line.
Sure. That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. That's a good offset. Okay, so I'm going to try to tap on this.
Sure, but I don't anticipate anything actually happening yet?
Yeah.
Possibly? Is stuff happening? I can't tell. No.
I can't tell.
Okay, I don't think anything's happening.
Yeah, I can't tell. So there could be a lot of things going on.
Okay, we can add prints to see whether things are being added to our offset list at all.
Yeah, let's do that.
Or we can finish updating, adding pan end.
Oh yeah, actually let's just add those.
Yeah.
Let's complete the picture and then see what's up.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go to on pan update.
So you're essentially doing the same thing here.
Yeah. It's the same.
So you can just...
Looks like it's the same.
You can copy and paste it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Looks like you can just do that. Yeah.
Right. And then on pan end, we want to...
Pan end. We want to do the same thing. Or
we don't want to do the same
thing. Can we put like a null?
For what would the null be for?
Just sort of to know that we aren't going to draw that point.
Okay.
But so if they're for example, the user puts their finger down and they start drawing, they lift it up and they put it back down again. We know that null is a stopping point. So we won't draw that point when the user lifts their finger.
Okay.
So then the next time the user puts their finger down, we start drawing from that point onwards. Oh. So the null kind of indicates like this like stoppage. Because otherwise I feel like we might end up drawing the whole, like we might end up connecting the dots between when the user lifts off and puts it
it almost sounds like we need a lists of offsets.
Yeah.
So each list item inside the list is one contiguous line or segment.
Right.
But we could also use null, but definitely feels more clunky.
Right.
We can just do that to see if it works.
We can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's do that. We're obviously not reading this value down in here.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay.
So everything is set up. Let's just hit save.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm trying to think if this is. I would like to put some print statements here.
Let's add some print statements here.
The details.global position is actually giving us
the
XY that we'd expect,
and also that it's getting saved at all.
Right.
For both pan update and pan
start and pan end. Yeah. All right. Let me try putting that.
You can use $sign and then put that in. Yeah. You need to wrap that in the curly braces.
Yes. Got it.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, that is complaining. No, it's not. Okay.
It's not complaining. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to save that again.
Okay.
And let's close that.
Yeah.
Try to open up Blockcat.
I think it will...
Oh, but probably not.
Inside run, it will log.
It will show up there.
I think in theory it should show there. Okay, so now if you tap on there,
Let's see.
Okay, so we have 158.460. I mean, that could be reasonable. We don't exactly know.
Yeah.
But so definitely something's being registered, but nothing is being painted.
Yeah.
And on pan update, nothing is... Well, I assume also that offsets are being saved into our offset thing.
Right.
But now we just need to figure out why nothing's painting.
So can we put a log inside the paint?
Yeah.
So let me put a log inside the loop.
Yeah. I mean, okay, we don't know details.
We don't know that.
We know the offset, though. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Offset. Whoa. And let's do that.
Cool.
And save.
Cool. I mean, it should be the same.
Should be the same.
Right. Yeah. I think the issue is the draw points. I think it did hot reload. Oh, there we go.
Oh, it did? Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, okay. We have some weirdness going on
here. Oh, okay.
So if we go...
Following render object was being processed when the exception is fired. Okay. Let me try to save that again.
I mean, you can always just
run it.
Restart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually concerned why hot reload is much slower than usual today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's just restart it.
Okay.
Okay. So it also could be that we haven't configured the paint properly.
It's true. Yeah, right. I don't know what the default color for it is.
Right.
So we could manually set that to something and also see what else in paint we need.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
Once it restarts.
Yep.
Okay. So for the paint, we have an anti-aliasing flag, we have color, we have blend mode, we have style and stroke.
Yeah, sure. Let's keep looking. Okay, I guess it is just in this weird...
Is it in limbo?
I don't think it's in limbo. I think it restarted. It only happened after you added the print statement, though, which is kind of... Oh, okay. I guess we're back to normal. That's
nice.
Weird.
Okay.
All right.
Let's try tapping on this now.
Okay, so the offset, the for loop the paint does not seem to be getting called.
Yes.
Maybe we are supposed to register. Oh, we'd actually never called paint, right? We're supposed to paint on pan start and on pan update. What we're doing here is just adding it to the list. We're not actually painting anything, right?
No, I think what's happening is that this is a stateful widget.
Yeah.
And we haven't called it set state.
Oh, that's true. But
so I think whenever the offset changes, we call set state.
Oh, that's
and that
true,
will trigger the repaint, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think all of these.
We can try that.
Yeah, all of these must be wrapped in with the set
set state.
Set state.
Yeah.
All right.
It needs another parens around that whole function. So after E in set state, here we need to add a parens, and out here we need to add a parens as well. No, just like...
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then out here we add one too, and then a semicolon.
Got it.
There we go.
All right,
cool. So we just need to add that.
We need to wrap these things in set states.
Sure, let's just, copy and paste that whole thing again.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
And let's paste that here. And let's paste that here, and then let's go back to null.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's save that.
Okay.
This should tell us, I mean, if this works, then it should tell us that there is a default color on the paint.
Mm-hmm.
At least. So, but we know that the custom painter wasn't even being triggered.
Okay, this is doing that weird thing again.
All right, let me do that. Okay, so it doesn't like hot reload.
We can also look up the default color of the ink if that was the reason. I don't think they would have defaulted it to this light red though.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you have like a strange.
Oh, okay.
You're missing you're missing a curly brace on line 75. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
I guess we'll just wait.
Hot restart.
This is very strange. I think I would actually X out of Android Studio and reopen it because hot reload is taking a lot longer than usually, and it usually does.
Yeah.
So just we can it restarted. We can close out of Android Studio and reopen it.
Got it. Let's do that.
So yeah, just like command Q it.
Q.
Okay.
Let's do that.
It was definitely faster earlier in the show.
It was, yeah.
Like 10 minutes ago. Okay, I guess we'll just wait. Well, also my battery says it's 3%, but it's charging, so I'm kind of concerned too. That might be why Android Studio is.
Hi, we're back.
Yep, our laptop ran out of battery, but we are charging it right now, so we're all good.
We're charging. We got it working. It's good. We got it going. Hopefully no more keyboard mishaps. Okay, last thing we did was have a print statement here. That didn't work. We realized we didn't actually call set state when the offset changed.
Right.
So let's try this again. Let's run this.
And if you tap now, although it is saving the offsets from the previous, that's why we had to do hot restart.
We had to do that. So if I did trash can. Okay.
It seems like it's moving. When you tap, it's moving the app bar or the whole screen down for some reason.
That's very interesting. That's right. It seems like it's moving the entire... Okay.
Well, it says offset argument was null. I think
I see.
You may not want to create a null offset.
Let's put this back in. Let's put it using the global position.
Anyway. It won't have one because it's on pan end.
Oh, that's right.
So we can actually just add make it an offset of 0, 0 or something.
Yeah, let's do that.
But it has to be set.
Oh, it has to be a type offset. Yeah. Okay.
Offset
0, 0, 0.
Yep.
Probably need the...
No, you don't. You're missing a parens at the end. That's all.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
nice.
that's all.
Okay.
Let's do that. Maybe you do need them.
We need the...
And yet again, you actually don't, but for my old version of Flutter, you do.
Let's hot reload. Okay, let's do that again, because it probably was in a state it didn't like, I guess.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So we really messed something up on the canvas, and it doesn't like hot reload? Okay.
Well, the thing is that you're not resetting the points, I think.
Right.
Okay. So it seems like it's moving. Points are being set. Okay. So now the question is, why isn't anything drawing?
Yes. Why isn't anything drawing on the screen?
Well, one thing is the default size of the line or the points that we're drawing. How big are they? Maybe we just can't see them.
That's probably true, because we see that this is being printed. So draw points is clearly being called.
Right.
So,
I mean, it may be called, but getting stuck somewhere. But we can adjust the ink
Let's do that. Let's try to adjust the paint.
Okay.
So I know there's a syntax where we can start adding properties to the
just
paint, right? Dot.
Yeah. Well, the dot syntax is you're setting a property of the item and returning the item. So that's why you can do paint and then set color, and it will return the paint object back.
Let's do deep purple.
Sure.
And what else do we have?
Is like thickness? I don't know what
that alias. We'll probably want that.
Okay.
Let's see. Blend mode, filter quality, and
stroke
shaders.
width.
Stroke width. Yeah.
Maybe get something.
Say
3.
3.
Yeah, 3. I don't. Yeah, 3. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that.
Let's try that.
Hey, I see some. Okay, so the points have been existing. They were just too small for us to see.
That's amazing. It actually worked. Oh,
but it's also offset.
And there's an offset
by a bunch.
By a bunch. I'm wondering if my the points returned by global position is not actually equal to the physical pointer location. Could that be possible?
If you try the top corner,
yeah,
you can't actually draw on the app bar. Like, I think that has something to do with it.
Really? Okay.
So like
let's delete the app bar.
Okay.
Let's try that.
But it also seems to be quite off.
Quite off.
Yeah, but so let's just delete the app bar and go from there.
All right, let's do that. Oh, I deleted something. Okay, no.
Okay, yeah, I mean, try drawing something else again.
Okay.
And see if. Okay, it's definitely
it's still off.
Off by a bunch.
Off by a bunch.
It might have to do with our child then.
Perhaps.
Okay,
width and height.
You're right. So if we set that to 0,
although could we try to make it full screen?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you would want to use media query.ov. So if you want to look at the media query documentation, it will show you, like, you can look up size of your screen and other things to do with your screen given data. Media query.
Oh, cool. Okay. So the window containing your app. Probably. So media query.size. Media query.of context.
Yeah.
And
let's try that.
Okay, I'm actually copy that. So let's do that here.
And you want to give it the height. Height.
Right. Do the same thing here. Width. And then let's bring back the simulator and then save that.
I mean, the other thing is that the old points are still there, so you may. Okay, let's.
Oh, okay.
The old points, I assumed, were somewhere there, but I don't know if. Yeah. Okay, the offset seems to be.
Right.
Totally somewhere else. Well, the issue earlier was not that it seemed like it was offset by exactly 300 south for some reason.
Right. So if we went back.
Right, if we went back and we changed the height to 0, I think it would work.
I see. Okay.
But the width can stay 300 though, because it seemed like the width was not causing any issues.
The issue of the width.
So if you try now.
Okay.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe the height is like.
Is there?
Okay. And we're back. We had a fire drill. This is the most boring show ever. We are sorry to disappoint you. Okay, we are back here trying to figure out why the offset
is so off.
Yes.
Set.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I think the last time we ran it, we were trying to get the paint configured.
Right.
So we increased the stroke width, and obviously you can see a mess of dots on the screen.
It was just about 300 offset, so that's why we moved it back.
So we were here, we moved it back, and that's when we wanted to reload.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And we got this going. That's interesting that the container
doesn't seem to do anything.
Doesn't seem to do anything.
Right.
Because it looks like if I'm trying to draw here, it's trying to draw underneath this container. See that there's a little dot peeking out here.
Why did we have that? Is that because we tried to tap the left?
What if we removed the color?
Yeah, let's just remove. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking we actually.
There you go.
Okay, well, we can actually remove the container possibly.
Yeah.
That may...
Okay, I can see. Okay, now I can see. There we go. Now I can see the points happening.
Okay.
Underneath it. Yeah. So it looks like that's interesting. The color actually creates like a layer on top, and the canvas is trying to. The custom painter is trying to draw underneath that color. That's cool. Okay, so we were here. What's wrong with the offset? This global position that we've been printing.
Right, it might not be the global. If we go back to details, we might have missed something, and it wasn't
something.
It might have not been global position. It might have been something else.
Right.
Okay. Well, actually, it only has global position and source timestamp.
So let's go back to the docs and let's see what the global position talks about. Maybe.
Yeah. Sure.
So we have on pan. We were at on pan start, or sorry, on pan. Yeah. Gesture drag start. Drag start details.
I mean, you can search up the
global position.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Drag down details. Got it. So, see also locus position, which is the global position transformed to the coordinate space of the event receiver.
So maybe we're supposed to use that.
Yeah. So the locus position coordinate in the coordinate system of the event receiver, which is the pointer has contact with the screen.
The issue is where.
So is there a way to get the local position from the global position?
Right. And where do we?
So it looks like it's the property of a drag down.
Okay, let's go back and look at that. Drag down details.
And I believe this is...
Oh, this one has... Okay, so this one is a drag, but we're looking at pan, actually.
We're looking at pan.
So if we go back to pan down, we can check if pan down has a local position.
Yeah, so on pan down.
No. Oh, wait.
It would be in the callback. And it would also be in the drag.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It does.
Oh, so it takes a drag down despite the fact that it is called a pan.
Pan. Yeah.
Okay.
So we could check that out.
Delightfully devilish Seymour.
All right. Let's go back to main. Let's go here. Let's do this.
Okay.
And
so
let's just say.
Well. No. Details.
Details. On pan down. On drag down callback. On drag down details. Looks like it's not actually there.
Oh, yeah. There is a possibility I have a really old version of Flutter and...
Ah, okay.
Let me just update Flutter.
All right.
Okay, we can go back to what you were doing and go from there.
So, back in the world of offset. So there are two interpretations of offset according to this. So it's an XY point in this space at a specified distance from a separately maintained origin. So the top left position of children in the render box protocol is typically presented as an offset from the top left of the parent box, or it is a vector that can be applied to coordinates.
We can calculate the local offset ourselves. I mean,
we could probably try to calculate. Yeah.
I mean, I think though, if you have the global, if we use the entire app screen, the global and the local should be the same.
Right. That's true. That's a point.
So maybe we don't need to give it a child, or the child that we give it. Like if we go back to our code, and we change the height to say 10.
Yeah.
Maybe the offset should only be 10, right?
Yeah.
Go back to
that makes sense. Yeah. Let's open the simulator again.
Oh, okay. We were in the middle of editing something here. We changed that back to global position.
Let's do that. Okay.
Okay, so it's done, and then you try drawing, and it is not at all. What if you're drawing like up here?
Ooh, nope. Okay.
Okay. But for some reason, when it was 300, it worked. So if we made it 100,
maybe. Yeah, that could work.
I mean, I think the other thing is maybe you can only draw inside the container. Oh, we need to change the colors to something. Oh wait, there we go. Okay, so that's definitely offset by a bunch.
Yeah, and I feel like it's you're right. I think the custom paint can only paint within the bounds of the container, I'm guessing. So, but it is able to paint here, which is nowhere near the container. The container is in the center.
I mean, it's still using the global. If we just calculated, if we just did global off position minus some number, but I don't really know if that's that's kind of hacky. It doesn't seem right.
What is a render box?
Oh, let's check it out. Yeah, they were talking about that in the offsets, right?
Yeah.
So let's check it out.
So let's see. It sounds like something we'd want to we'd want to deal with, a render box.
Yeah, it's possible we actually only want to draw inside a render box instead of...
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the render box is something...
Render object.
Okay, so you get the width and height. So
let's try.
Does a widget... Can you get a render box from a widget?
I think you create one. I don't know if you get one from...
So for example, is it possible to say, okay, you have a widget, and can you please give me the box where I can render stuff on it?
Possibly. I've never really used render box, so let's look at an example.
See what's going on here. Okay.
So you're thinking we try and retrieve a render box from
a widget, and then
from our custom paint, or they're just talking about painting.
Okay.
But
just have a render box paint. Okay, got it.
Use this method.
All right. So yeah, I'm thinking, is there a way to? Oh, okay.
Painting children. Oh, so
global to local methods.
So maybe we
probably want to look at that.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Convert the given point from the global to the local.
Okay, so
this
now
sounds like exactly what we want.
Yeah, we just need to figure out what we pass in.
Exactly.
Okay, let's try that.
This needs a render object.
Okay, so if we go back to our code and we put a render box around our container or around our gesture detector?
Yeah, around our gesture detector.
Okay, sure.
So it would have to compose. The render box would have to compose the gesture detector.
Okay.
And
that's all the way down here.
All the way down.
Yeah.
Looks like
you have to set child to gesture detector.
So I think I'm after this child actually. So
no, I mean I think you need to set child here.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, there we go. I think you have enough parens going on. Oh, maybe not, but you can reformat and see what you're missing. Well, actually no, don't reformat.
Do that. Yeah, I think we probably need another.
Oh no. Okay. Start putting. We can remove.
So the argument rendered is the render box is not a widget.
Oh, okay. That is okay. Good to know.
Interesting. Okay,
so we need to check what
render
it can
box
be part
is
of.
Not a widget.
Well, if you go to render box,
going back
what
here,
can take.
Right. How do we get a render box from the widget in that case? Because it's not exactly a widget. Let's see. Is there a way to sort of access like the parent, the context, or just
there's context in the build function, but I'm not sure you can get a render box from that context.
Okay, so like if I were to access the context here, build context,
right? But I don't think that has a render. Oh, it does. Okay, current render object for the widget. Oh, all right then.
Awesome.
Render object is a render box.
Cool. Okay, so render object. Okay, so maybe there's like a get.
Sure.
Get render object. No. Find render.
Oh, okay.
Find render. Calling this method. Okay. So this returns a render object which we can use to convert global to local.
Right. Let's try that.
Okay. Let's try that. So this is at a wherever we do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna say local position is context dot find render object.
Right, there we go.
And
you pass in an offset, I believe.
Yeah. So if we go back,
so we will pass in global position,
offset global to local, and then we pass in the global and then the render object.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we get the global position. Oops.
You pasted it in the wrong spot. Yeah. You want to paste it inside find. Wait. I think you need to call.
Right. So we get our render object.
Right.
And then using a render object.
Global to local. Call the global to local function.
Oh, we still need a render box, so.
Oh, right. Okay, so we somehow get the render box from render box equals render object dot get find render box, right? That was the function, find render box.
Right.
Yeah, so we go back there.
All right, so render object.
find.
Oh, no. I think the render object actually requires you to get the render. I think you create.
Oh, can you just create render box and pass it in? Okay, so we can just do that instead. Yeah. So equals render box, and then parens. I don't know if you need to pass in render object.
It extends render object.
Oh, okay. So why can't we just do render object dot global to local? It's because it's not actually that type, right? No, never mind.
Right. Okay. Right. It is a render object, but it's not a render box.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So given this offset, so if there's a way to convert from render object to render box.
Okay, just search for render box here, I guess.
Okay, it's a subclass, right? So, writing render box applied to writing render object. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Let's go back to render box and see how that gets created. Writing a render box. Consider some. Okay, so let's see if there's a way to actually if there's any examples of actually creating a render box.
Right. Well, it seems like they're mostly extending a render box as opposed to creating it.
So once we get the render object here, is there anything, the size of the render box returned by the find render object?
That's size.
So that's just going to get you the size.
Right.
Okay, so when we get this render object, can we cast it to a render box?
We can try. We just do as, so render object as, render box. I don't know if that would actually do anything, but we can see.
Because it might actually be a render box.
Let's try it.
So let's try that. Global to local.
Try it, I guess. Global position.
Okay. And
so we have to do that for pan update as well.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Let's try it.
So let me print this out.
Okay.
And this is going to be local position.
Right.
Ooh. All right.
Cool. And this one, we can just leave this as 0.
Yeah,
that should be fine.
Just leave that.
Yeah.
Save. Go back to the simulator.
Okay. We just have to draw something else.
Let's draw it.
Okay, that is not doing anything either.
Oh, it was. I mean, it was drawing.
Oh.
It was drawing dots, but there is some sort of an offset.
Okay,
There's still some sort of an offset.
Yeah, I don't see what the offset is, though.
I think at some point it kind of stopped drawing as well.
We can restart afresh because every time we hot reload, the points are still there.
Okay, restarted.
Yep. Okay, we seem to be not quite offset here.
Yeah.
We could, actually nothing was actually being printed, which is, I think it's because our container is not, if we make it large again and red and maybe we can only draw inside it. So that doesn't really seem to make sense either, but we'll see. Because as you pan down, at least, okay, so some points
are that works great.
But we're still off.
We're still off.
I mean, it looks like we're only off vertically and not horizontally, which is very strange.
Well, we're right. That's true.
Because why should the width matter, but the height? Okay, so we're looking here. 210, 199. That's like approximately there.
Yeah.
But instead, the ink is being drawn way lower.
Exactly.
If you tap on the very top left corner, what are we getting? If you're drawing on the top left corner, it seems like no offsets are being drawn anymore.
Nothing.
Okay, nothing is being drawn.
It's not even registering. Yeah.
What if you go down a little bit more and draw like here, say? Yeah. Okay, so at what point are we able to draw? Is it only within the box?
Yeah. That might be it.
Okay, so if we make this like a 500 times 500 box,
yeah,
our space of drawing becomes bigger, I assume.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that whole thing just moved.
That whole thing just moved.
Okay, so maybe we are supposed to use the media query.of context size height, like basically size of the container.
Right. So let's just try making this 1,000.
Okay, I don't know about width being 1,000, but sure.
But yeah, so
it does move. Wait, why is that working now? That doesn't make any sense.
It's magic. It's working.
So maybe we should just make this the size of our
screen. Yeah, let's do that. So media query.of context.
Okay, but then why wasn't it working earlier?
Because we had a color.
Well, that's true.
Over the whole.
But we also didn't have the local to global position
and that
thing.
Yes. Yeah. So let's do that.
So potentially we just needed all that together. Yes. Okay, who knew coding has lots of parts.
So many moving
Okay, if we restart now.
That. All right.
Okay, we can draw.
God,
this is nice.
Works.
Yay.
Okay, so now we're drawing only points though, but it's interesting to see, you know, like if I move this fast, you can clearly see the trail.
Okay,
so
see
the distance getting bigger.
We have a little bit of time left. We can either try to
draw a line
or try to do the flipbook part, which we can talk about, but we might not have time to implement. So maybe try drawing a line.
Let's try drawing a line.
So it looks okay. Instead of flipbook, we're going to paint. Paint is good. Okay.
Paint is good. Okay. So let's see. We have a paint and we're doing draw points here.
Yeah, we want to draw a line probably, right?
Right. So, and we know that when the on-pan end happened, we were trying to insert a null earlier.
Right. Our idea was 0, 0.
Right. Our idea was that we have 2 points with which to draw a line, but if the second point is a null, it is a point that gets drawn. So let's work with that. So coming back to here, I'm gonna try putting in null.
Do they like that? Does the list like that when you put null? We'll see what happens. Earlier on it threw an error, but
I think it's throwing an error because it's trying to draw the null.
Oh, okay, right. That's true. We need to do something about that. Okay, so it's like if not null, then draw it.
So we need to draw the current point and the next point, right? So we need to draw the ith point and then the i+1
right.
So we probably want a proper for loop, not a for each. So I'm gonna say we have right?
Yeah. I mean, you can just use I.
That's probably shorter. That's a great idea, Mary. Okay. Offsets, length or size? Length. Okay.
Just type it and then do the. Well, that's supposed to be a semicolon too.
Oh, that's right. Oh, semicolons.
It's okay. I messed up when I did for loops last time on this show as well, and I was like, "This is very."
What is a loop? You know. Okay, so let's say that. Okay, so we have our x and our x+1 both should be non-null for us to draw a point, right?
Right.
Okay, so if offsets of x is not null and
x+1
offsets of x+1 is also not null.
Well, you're actually using I, aren't you? Not x.
Sorry, that's an I.
But also, you want to check that offsets I. Okay, that's fine. Yeah,
right?
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
fine.
And
then we can. So I'm assuming there's draw a line because there's probably gonna be like draw arc, draw line, draw.
Sure. Yeah, there's draw line. We saw it earlier.
Cool.
So we'll just go here. Use that.
Draw line.
Yeah, lines are nice. Okay.
There we go. So 2 offsets and a
P2.
paint.
Yeah. So now we know we have 2 points that we can draw a line for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So let's draw the first one, and then the second one, and then our paint.
Good times.
All right. Good times.
And then otherwise we want to draw a point.
Yes. So else if it's not
this
null. Would have to be null.
Right. Yeah. If I is not null or yeah.
So if this is not null and this is null.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. You would draw a point.
Yeah, then you draw a point.
Right.
Remove that.
And then if it's if you need to first check if offsets I is equal to null, you also just don't want to draw anything. You don't want to call canvas.paint at all.
That's true.
So we should add a little null check above this.
Oh, but this is not going to do. This is gonna if offset.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. And then
there.
So else would be just.
Yes. I mean, we could have very well just wrapped this with an outer one. Yep. Yeah. So this needs. Okay. So now we need to build the list of offsets for the points. Right.
Oh yeah.
So what we could do is
it should just be offset I.
Oh,
in a list,
okay.
right?
So
that's what we had earlier. Yeah, that's what we had earlier.
Okay,
we just
because that's not null.
Although I think, at this point
not.
it's called it's called offsets I. You just because we're doing a 4 in for each.
Makes sense.
Soup.
All right,
and then else don't draw. Oh yeah, we already have that.
Well,
okay, great. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay,
else don't draw.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna restart that because something happened on the screen. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we have some drawing, and it's much smoother.
It's so much
definitely
smoother.
a line.
Yeah.
If you try drawing a point, does it work? Okay, great.
Oh, it does work.
Cool.
Let's just experiment this. I'm gonna go to like 6.
Okay, sure.
Let's go up to 6 and see what happens.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely working fine.
Yeah, it's definitely working fine.
Okay,
so
if we were doing a flip book, which we are almost out of time for, what would you do next?
So I came across the stack widget.
Okay, yeah. So we can toggle that again. So where would you put a stack?
Let's say that we have our gesture detector here, right?
Right.
I'm thinking we make our body a stack, and the stack contains a bunch of children.
Okay.
And each of them is a gesture detector.
Okay.
Right. And what we could do is you only have one child in the stack, which is a gesture detector. Okay. And then you draw on that canvas, you record the list of offsets for that drawing.
Okay.
And then you sort of, probably with a floating action button or something, you add another gesture detector child on top of the stack.
Okay.
You replay the points of the previous gesture detector child with sort of like a lighter opacity, so you have like a watermark effect. And then you can start drawing the next frame of the animation in the second child gesture detector.
Sure.
So you keep doing that. You basically keep a reference to the previous child's points, draw that as a watermark, record the new points, and you keep swapping that. And let's say you make like 10 or so of these. So you have 10 views in the stack.
Right.
And you could, if you sort of had the children actually be sort of animated containers or something like that, where you could sort of run sort of transition animations or fade out, right?
Yeah, we do have fade transitions, and we do have animated container. You can iterate through a list, and as the value changes, the UI can change.
The UI can change, So going back, I lied. Each child in the stack would be a gesture detector, and the child would be some sort of an animated container of the gesture detector.
The gesture detector, we only need one, because only the topmost frame needs drawing.
That's true.
So you could actually, instead of the stack being of gesture detectors, it could be a stack of custom paints, or a stack of we could have lists, a stack of custom paints possibly, and we animate the custom paints, because the gesture detector only needs to be in the topmost layer, right?
Yeah. So the idea is, once you've accumulated enough of these drawings, you reverse the stack. Okay. Or you keep it that way, and you sort of, through some UI button, you
just a floating action button or something.
Floating action button, you sort of go through each view, you pop each view off the stack, and as you pop it, you sort of fade in the new view. So you fade out the old one, and you fade in the new one, and you keep doing that until the stack is over. So depending on your animation duration, you'd kind of get the effect that, like, it's sort of running through these frames.
That could work. Yeah. Actually, the stack is good for, we could have a stack that's just one layer watermark and one layer the layer we're drawing on.
Yeah.
And then once we save a list of our 10 drawings, we don't have to use a stack to display them. We could just use a animated crossfade or animated container just to show two things at once. So one item, and then animate the next item, and then animate the next item. So we don't actually need a stack either.
The stack is just useful for recording the points on the watermark.
Yeah, so we only need 2 items really in the stack. Yeah. But are there any last thoughts you have, or other ideas you have for a flip book? Or this code right here.
Yeah, I think that what we could do is, have some sort of UI controls to customize the color.
Sure,
the brush.
You would just add buttons and change the color. And,
make this configurable from the outside. And we could also have something to change the opacity. So
of course,
it would kind of resemble like a real marker.
Right.
If you go over the same line, it's just going to increase the opacity of the intersection of the two lines.
Okay.
So I think those things could be cool. It could just become like a drawing app, and of course, it could be that the performance is a little off, so maybe this could be optimized.
Yeah, we could definitely do something around there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And we could also you know, have different like customization points where we don't just allow for drawing of lines and points. We could allow for drawing of circles, you know, rects and ovals.
Cool. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for listening in, and we hope you enjoyed today's show.
Yeah. This was fun. This was a lot of fun.